This is desperate stuff from the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. This week, he had another reset. This morning, the Prime Minister scrapped his 5 missions, and after scrapping his 3 foundations, scrapping his 6 first steps for change, and his 7 pillars for growth, the truth is this man has got no clue, 0 clue. But this is serious, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister's incompetence is hurting real people. They're losing their jobs. The cost of everything is going up, from energy bills to the weekly shop. This is a crisis made in Downing Street. Isn't the truth that he is too weak to change course and too arrogant to admit he got things wrong?
I don't know what social media sites she's been on this morning, Mr. Speaker, but I think the chair of the Tory party said that we were the firefighters, this government. Well, in a sense we are, because we're putting out the fires that they created. They were the arsonists, the biggest fall in living standards on record and blowing up the finances. We spent the first year putting out their fires, quite right too. But now, Mr. Speaker, we're delivering on the cost of living. Funded childcare, £7,500 for working families. Free breakfast clubs, opening new schools-based nurseries. That's what we're fighting for. The best start for every child in this country.
Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Mayor of the West Midlands, Richard Parker, is delivering growth and jobs by backing SMEs like Bogue Toys in my constituency of Birmingham Erdington, which has just doubled in size. Will the Prime Minister join me in praising this success and confirm that boosting ambitious small and medium-sized businesses across the UK remains a key priority of his government?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I recognise and congratulate the businesses in her constituencies? Mr. Speaker, we've published our small business plan, which was very well received. Includes new rules cracking down on late payments, much long been asked for, £3 billion boost to more business loans and fairer business rate systems to support small businesses. That's why it was so warmly received. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sir David, leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of these benches, can I join the Leader of the Opposition in sending our condolences to the family of David Warburton? And I'm sure the whole House will join me in paying tribute to Annette Brooke, who served in this House for 14 years and sadly passed away last month. Annette dedicated her life to public service and serving the people of Dorset, and she is greatly missed. Mr. Speaker, we have all seen the horrifying images from Gaza. The baby is so thin from starvation you can see their skeletons. The bodies of children killed while queuing for water. The emaciated hostages still held captive by Hamas. The Prime Minister has rightly said he wants to stop all that. So when the one man in the world who has the power to stop that comes here to our country on a state visit, will the Prime Minister look President Trump in the eye and urge him to use the influence on Netanyahu and Qatar to make it stop?
Prime Minister.
Can I join him on his comments about Annette Brooke? And also in his description about the horrifying situation in Gaza, and it is horrifying. We're looking at a man-made famine on top of everything else, and that is why we're expending so much of our time with partners seeking to bring about a ceasefire, to get humanitarian aid in at pace, to get hostages out, and of course to put forward a peace plan that can actually take us to a two-stage solution. And of course I'll talk to all international leaders about that. I would gently say to them that if he hadn't refused the invite to the state bank, he could be there 2 weeks on Tuesday and speak to President Trump himself. And I'm surprised it's not an act of leadership to pass up that opportunity.
Mr. Speaker, I have to disagree with him on that. We are now debating this issue. But here's an issue where I hope he will agree with me. The European Convention on Human Rights is a British creation that protects all our basic rights and freedoms. Rights of children, disabled people, survivors of domestic abuse, victims of horrific crimes, everyone. It protects care home residents from abuse and families from being spied on by councils. But the leader of the Conservative Party and the leader of Reform want to join Russia and Vladimir Putin by withdrawing from the convention. The Liberal Democrats disagree, Mr. Speaker, and so do the majority of the British people. So will the Prime Minister categorically rule out withdrawing from the ECHR or suspending it or watering down our rights in any way?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we will not withdraw from the European Convention of Human Rights. We do need to make sure that both the Convention and other instruments are fit for the circumstances we face at the moment, and therefore, of course, we have been, as we made clear, looking at the interpretation of some of those provisions. It would be a profound mistake to pull out of these instruments, because the first thing that would follow is every other country in the world that adheres to these instruments would pull out of all their agreements with this country. That would be catastrophic for dealing with the problem that we're actually dealing with.
Harry Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Scotland has a proud heritage as one of the world's great shipbuilding nations. On behalf of the defence industry workers across Ayrshire and beyond, can I welcome the largest ever export deal for new warships ever secured by the UK? And does the Prime Minister agree that this shows how, under Labour, we can build on our proud past to secure a brighter future for our shipbuilding industry?
Can I thank you for a question? Mr. Speaker, I was very pleased to get the call from the Prime Minister of Norway on Saturday night telling us that the UK had won this contract, beating off competition from the US, from France and from Germany because of the quality of shipbuilding in this country. This is £10 billion deal, Mr. Speaker, 15 years worth of shipbuilding, particularly in places like the Clyde, thousands of skilled jobs in Scotland, and it does show the importance of the defence industrial strategy and the importance of Britain being taken seriously again on the international stage. Mr. Speaker, it comes on top of the record investment in defence that we've already announced earlier this year.
Robin Swan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm joined today in the gallery by the leadership of the Young Farmers Clubs of Ulster, an organisation and young people who are passionate about youth work, passionate about the rural countryside and passionate about the future of farming and agriculture. Agriculture policy has devolved, but the Prime Minister's agricultural inheritance tax is the thing that has them and young farmers across all the country despairing not just for their future, but the future of food security. When will the Prime Minister change course on the farm family inheritance tax, now that he's taking control of tax policy?
Prime Minister.
First, can I welcome the Young Farmers Club of Ulster to Parliament and take this opportunity to say to him and to them that we've invested more than £2.7 billion in farming and nature recovery. That's been welcomed. And of course, we're developing a 25-year farming roadmap to make the sector more profitable. Again, that has been warmly welcomed, and their future will depend on that roadmap. We'll work with them.
Bill Ribeiro-Addy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week, the Global Sumud Flotilla, which includes British citizens, set sail for Gaza to break the illegal blockade and deliver much-needed aid. In June, the British boat, the Madeleine, was threatened and its crew detained, but we took no action. Can the Prime Minister say what has been learned from this and what steps are being taken to protect the British citizens on this flotilla?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, she raised a really important issue in relation to the horrifying situation in Gaza, and the Israeli government is preventing urgently needed aid from getting in, and that is why we're now seeing a man-made famine, and that should cause us all to pause and reflect. I have to say, we are working with other countries to get aid in by any practical means, but land routes are the only viable and sustainable means of getting aid into Gaza at the scale that is required, and Israel must lift the restrictions to allow aid agencies to deliver the life-saving supplies that are so desperately needed.
Pete Wishart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the budget date has finally been announced, and once again, Scotland is some sort of distant afterthought. A budget date left to the 11th hour because they do not know how to resolve their countless counter-bureaucrats. A budget date that has practically wrecked Scotland's budgetary process, leaving it almost impossible for us to pass our budget before Christmas, leaving great uncertainty in Scotland's public services. And you know what, Mr. Speaker? They couldn't even be bothered to notify the Scottish Government, leaving them to find this out on social media. So can I ask the Prime Minister, how is this reset and relationships working out?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, he overlooks the fact that the last budget there was a record settlement for Scotland, £50 billion a year, and he talks about the support. We've just won this Norway frigates contract. That is 15 years of shipbuilding in Scotland. The First Minister of the SNP has said what about that since Sunday? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I know we've got another SNP question in just a moment. Perhaps that will be the opportunity to welcome the deal that we won and the jobs now for Scotland.
Well done, McAvoy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Prime Minister, last year my online safety forum of children and young people from every secondary school and college in Darlington found that 71% of our year 10s and 12s had been contacted by a stranger online. A shocking failure that our Online Safety Act will hopefully prevent going forward. Will he join me on calling on the member for Clacton and all opposed to this vital act to pick a side? Are they with us, parents and child protectors, or are they with the predators harming our children online?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, of course, the honourable member for Clacton is not here representing his constituencies in the House that he was elected to. No, he's flown to America to badmouth and talk down our country. And worse than that, Mr. Speaker, if you can believe it, he's gone there to lobby the Americans to impose sanctions on this country which will harm working people. You cannot get more unpatriotic than that. It's a disgrace. Mr. Speaker, on the question of the Online Safety Act, that protects children from material on suicide, on self-harm and online predators. And Reform say they would scrap it. When their leader was asked, well, what would you replace it with? His answer, there needs to be a tech answer. I don't know what that is. Well, you can't run a country on don't know answers.
Dr. Kieran Mullen.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure like me you got to enjoy everything UK hospitality has to offer over the summer, and 15 local pubs received nominations as part of my Community Pub Awards. I visited places like the Bull Inn in Battle, the Castle Inn in Pevensey, the Swan Inn in Darlington, the New Inn in Westfield and Sidley Working Men's Club. Many of them told me how hard hit they've been by Labour's jobs tax, and UK Hospitality estimates 80,000 jobs have already been lost, and the Beer and Pub Association say a pub a day will close this year. Can the Prime Minister name a single pub landlord that thinks his current Deputy Prime Minister's employment bill is going to help rather than just make things worse?
Prime Minister.
Well, I hope he paced out the visits to all those pubs and didn't do them all in one go. But look, UK Hospitality has welcomed our small business plan, and that obviously applies to pubs. Yes, they have. And the reason is because it permanently lowers the business rates that they pay, and it tackles late payments, something they've been asking for a very, very long time. They talked about fixing this, but they never delivered. We're delivering.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituents have endured 4 major fires in recent months across our community, including the devastating destruction of Cumbernauld iconic St Mungo's Church. Yet the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service is consulting on downgrading Cumbernauld Fire Station, increasing response times and putting lives at risk. Can I ask the Prime Minister to make representation to the Scottish Government to not risk lives with cuts to our vital emergency services?
Prime Minister.
Well, I think the whole House is sorry to hear about the awful fires that her constituents have faced, including the destruction of St Mungo's. and I know just how important that church was, Mr. Speaker, to the local community. The Scottish Government have received the largest settlement in the history of devolution. That's £50 billion a year. That should be focused on the issues that matter to her constituency.